Hello and welcome or welcome back. My name is V and today we're going to be watching the video that seems to be sparking a lot of conversation these days online, and this is the video about why FF14 feels more divided by Sam the Lemon Boy. So if you haven't subscribed to the Sam the Lemon Boy, make sure to do so. I want to take a look at this video and kind of get the feeling for how the community sees FF14 right now. I'm gonna be honest with you, I've been really struggling. I've been wanting to get myself back into FF14, but with everything else going on, other games, other activities, and summer, and just trying to have at least a semblance of a life these days, it's just been very difficult for me to even want to play right now, which is a very defeating thing. I spent years and years in Final Fantasy XIV, and for the first time in a very long time, I actually unsubbed, and I don't even want to check if I still have my house or not. I am very anxious for that, and I spent the longest time being subscribed to the game because of the house, but at this point, I don't even know if I lost it or not, but it's just not worth the money right now, regardless of all the items and everything, because I just find myself not logging in. I am yet to finish the new raid wing. I haven't checked out any of the new content that came out in the last patch, and that's a very sad thing for me to admit, because I missing the game at this point. So I don't know what it is about Dawntrail that just really pushed me away, but I am hoping that maybe next year with the next expansion, or maybe even with the next patch, that I actually get myself back into the game and start enjoying it again. But right now, I just don't see myself feeling that way. How do you feel about FF14 lately? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Now, apart from FF14, lately here on the channel, I've been doing some Final Fantasy XI that I started playing for the first time, World of Warcraft, and all the other MMORPG news, so do check it out. Now let's watch the video.
Slipping away. With 14, this video might come off a bit as a downer, but I hope it ends up being more than that. Maybe a step forward towards clarity, maybe a moment of reflection for all of us. I've played Final Fantasy XIV for quite a while, more than some, less than others. If I had to estimate, I've spent well over 9,000 hours in Eorzea. For context, I joined during the tail end of Shadowbringers. I played through everything, from A Realm Reborn up until Shadowbringers, and I was genuinely excited for Endwalker. And to be honest, I loved Endwalker when it launched. It was my first expansion, and it felt like something truly special. But for many veteran players, the cracks were already...
I felt the same way about Endwalker. I felt like I finally belonged with the crowd who is experiencing a new expansion. I can completely relate to this, as I started playing at the end of Shadowbringers as well, when everybody else kind of was already familiar with the cycle of these expansions and how it works. I was just new. I was playing through my tons and tons of hours of story, and I was happy. And then Endwalker just felt great.
Forming. Discontent was growing even back then, and those who voiced it were often dismissed as the loud minority. But that minority isn't necessarily wrong. They're just people who care deeply about the game, just as those who defend it.
Yeah, the boobs are
difference
distracting.
Is that some are more willing to confront the parts that aren't aging well. It hit me recently that my journey in 14 has started to mirror my experience with World of Warcraft. That familiar arc, pouring in time, exploring new expansions, feeling that initial rush of excitement, only to slowly sense something slipping away. With 14, I didn't drop off as quickly, and I kept asking myself, why? Part of it is because I've made content about this game for the past 3 years, but more than that, it's because 14 didn't feel like just a game. It felt like a second life, a community, a place I lived in, and maybe that's part of the problem. That level of emotional investment can become unhealthy, especially when the magic starts to fade. After Endwalker, something shifted. For me and for many others, the storytelling post-Endwalker became hit or miss. Pacing felt off. Tonal changes made it hard to stay connected. It wasn't just about patch cycles or content, it was something deeper. Fracture, burnout mixed with silence, more people talking, fewer people feeling heard, and fewer still feeling together. Now, 14 is a huge game, and with that size comes incredible variety, but also fragmentation. There are countless micro-communities, Raiders, role players, social hubs, ERP venues, fashion-focused players, crafters, G-pose artists, you name it. And each niche fiercely defends its own space. What's missing isn't content, it's cohesion. Instead of walking a shared path, players often pull others into their lane, or build silos where no dialogue crosses over. In theory, this diversity should be the game's strength, but lately it feels like it's become a barrier. Compare that to games like World of Warcraft or Warframe, where the premise of the game is more distilled. Everyone, more or less, is orbiting the same gravitational core. Raids, gear, progression, grind. So even if you play differently, there's a stronger sense of shared experience.
Everything just pretty much felt like a big copy paste from the small things in dungeons, and I know that this has been a thing for ages and I just didn't feel it before because I was new, but the dungeons just kept the exact same format, 2 to 3 trash packs into a boss fight, into 2 to 3 trash packs, boss fight, and so on. At least in World of Warcraft, I felt that dungeons were somewhat different, that there was a variety of things that you do between the 2 boss fights. Sometimes, you end up teleporting, sometimes you're walking, sometimes they're in the same area, sometimes they're not. There's no predictable distance between, this boss fight, that boss fight. Sometimes they're all just there. And it's just a different experience. And I wish that things weren't so predictable in FF14. I know that it's difficult to always be coming up with new things, especially when you have a code that you just want to, use to make the next thing. But over time, it just becomes exhausting. It's always the same. The way Dungeons Roulette work, the way everything works, it's just same. And I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of borrowed power or that FF14 is in a desperate need of something, but honestly, I think it would refresh the game a little bit because it's always the same thing. The raids and everything just works in absolutely the same way, and people are just tired of it. And the worst thing about, the communities is that a lot of communities are falling apart. And now, even if you want to play with the friends who used to play FF14, and my community was lively to the point that we would just, camp the play cards for the house together, hang out there, go to different old level content and not farm it, but just go through it for the sake of the story. Nobody's playing anymore. Like, I personally don't have anyone except my partner to play with. And there's also a limited amount of things that we can do. We can check out the content for the first time, but then when it comes to farming it, we need to have a reason to actually be there and farm. And also mount collecting, pet collecting, and everything else that I love is cool. But if I'm never in the game to use these things or show them off or whatever, what's the point? I even stopped logging into the limited time events, and I used to be very huge on that FOMO and making sure that I always have everything that is limited time there so that I don't have to buy it from the MOG station later on.
Yes, 14 has glamour, mounts, housing, raids, just like any other MMO, but the way these systems connect players feels more isolated. Take mounts, for example. In Final Fantasy XIV, mounts feel more like a personal flair than social currency, unlike in World of Warcraft where they visibly signal achievements in core hubs. One of the biggest unspoken burdens in Final Fantasy XIV is how socially dependent it is, but how little structural support exists when that dependency breaks down. This game invites you to form long-term connections, free companies, statics, clubs, RP link shells, and these aren't casual lobbies, they're tightly knitted, emotionally invested groups often requiring real-time schedules, creative energy, and mutual emotional labor. The game pushes players towards these bonds by design, but it doesn't offer tools to help manage what happens when these groups fracture, more so with criticism being met with reports for
Okay, this part, it's not that I disagree with, but I don't know what the game should offer as a backup when communities fracture. It's up to the communities to not fracture at the end of the day.
Whatever reason due to the terms of service. There is no system of resolving interpersonal drama. no graceful way to step back from burnout without feeling like you're letting others down.
I know this is
And
on
the community,
purpose, but...
while known for its kindness, often responds to discomfort with silence or dismissal. If you express critique, you're labeled negative. If you detach, you're seen as dramatic. There's an unspoken expectation to stay positive and loyal even when you're not okay. When players have gotten their belly rubbed by the world they live in, by the developers they love so much, they become numb and inexperienced to the roughness of what is found in positive emotions. Love holds painful experiences. Support is often met with disappointment, and so on and so forth. And this isn't just life. It's something the game actively constructs through its social culture but fails to sustain with the systems that would make those relationships healthy long term. And as mentioned before, with the dichotomy between micro-communities, players have developed the sense of simply generalizing the criticism as dissatisfaction with what the criticizer wants and not what the game needs, boiling it down to at least we got something instead of nothing at all. Which is true, but when there is potential for a greater product and we end up with a decent one, that's when things could change drastically. This game has a strong reputation of kindness and community.
There is just something that no one can exactly point the finger at, and I think it's very personal for every individual who comments on this in any way. But there is just something different about Dawntrail in comparison to all of the other expansions, and that something might just be a collective of all these small things, plot holes, troubles with pacing, bland story, differences in the writing and what the players expect in general, repetitive systems in game, and so on and so forth. I think that all of this combined is just a giant ball of things that people are not satisfied with, that you can point the finger at and say, okay, this is everything that we're unhappy with, but I think that also everyone can add more things to it that are specific to them. But there's no one singular thing that is an issue with Dawntrail in comparison to the other expansions, whereas all the other ones can be ignored. So it's looking like the game just needs a serious kind of rework to show to the players that the developers have been listening and that they want to give the players, not give them the product that they want, but give them it back, because we used to have it and now things just don't feel the same.
But that can attract players who use their reputation to mask toxic behaviors. People looking for validation, control, or attention can create a surface level of friendliness while stirring drama or dominating dynamics behind the scenes. Followed by this game's slower, narrative-heavy pace also tends to attract more emotionally invested players, which is a double-edged sword. It can lead to beautiful connections, but also to cliques, emotional manipulation, or passive aggression when conflicts arise. Now, it's not the majority, but the few who act this way can really wear down one's love for the space. Now, I am not saying that this game is broken. It just reflects how complex our needs as players have become, and how our needs are no longer met by past systems that used to serve us well. And if we can talk about it, really talk, we might find that spark again. And do keep in mind that I have hardly even talked about other core issues of the game, such as combat and content. And again, for clarification's sake, this is not a video bashing the game or anything of the sort. I am simply starting a conversation to learn more about the core issue of this game. So if you have anything you'd like to share or throw my way, I always read my comments. So thank you for joining the conversation. And of course, a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel. Here are the GPOs that I have made for you acidic fellas, and I hope to see you all in the next video.
Good video. I think that they brought up some really, really good points, and that it wasn't meant to be negative. A lot of people are going to see it as negative, and I faced the same thing when I spoke up a few months ago at this point and shared a lot about how I feel about Dawntrail. And at this point, I can't even share how I feel about Dawntrail because I'm not currently playing Dawntrail. I just miss the game, I miss the community, and I miss feeling the way I used to feel with FF14. I wish I had the I guess the emotional, I don't know, strength, perseverance, whatever you want to call it, to, you know, continue to be a part of the game and to just wait and wait and wait. But my life also is moving on, and I'm trying to do different kinds of content and somewhat reshape this channel after the FF14. I'm not saying that I'm not going to come back to the game. I want to with all my heart, but right now it's just very difficult to feel passionate about it. So I'm trying to rediscover myself a little bit. Trying to play Final Fantasy XI, trying to see if that's something that I would enjoy. Still very much enjoying World of Warcraft. I think even with some of the story flaws and the War Within still being in the early stages and taking shape, I've actually really enjoyed some of the patches, like the one with the Goblin Town and just overall different things that World of Warcraft has offered in the past year. And I will be here for all things MMORPG, but I'm also focused on other channels, which you can find in the description of this video as well. So I currently do all sorts of things, but I'm mostly focused on my variety journey. I'm currently playing Kingdom Hearts for the first time. I'm playing and speedrunning Persona, doing all these different things, and I'm currently happy, but I wish I was happy in FF14 as well. And hopefully the game does give me and a lot of us the reasons that we're looking for to actually stay in the game. Let me know the thoughts that you have on this video. Do make sure to subscribe to Sam the Lemon Boy and leave a comment there and here as well, should you want to. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, and I'll see you in the next one. For watching, take care, bye bye.